evening and welcome to From the Halls of Justice. We have with us today a very dear friend of mine. Talking to her is so easy. We have been down this road so many times. Her name is Madeleine Bryant Kambe, and she has done some outstanding things in the legal system, in the courthouses. Everyone knows her. She's an outstanding woman. She has been to my mother's church, her and her husband. Mm-hmm. So this is From the Halls of Justice, and everybody was just thrilled to hear that you were going to be in the studio today.
Oh, thank you.
So, Madeleine, if you would be so kind, I would, even though I know a lot about you, and they can probably Google you and everything else, I would just like to know, how long have you been practicing law?
I believe 37 years.
37 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were a little girl, did you know you wanted to become an attorney or what?
I knew I was an attorney. I knew I was an attorney. Everybody in our family almost is an attorney.
Really?
Yeah, we have lots of attorneys up and down the coast, San Francisco to Los Angeles and places beyond. Yes, we're a legal family.
Oh my goodness! Now, with you being a little girl and knowing that you wanted to be in the legal field. Was there anything else besides practicing law that you wanted to do?
Not that I can think of at this point. Practicing law, I think, it's just in our blood. It's part of the family.
You told me on the way over here, I find this very interesting because I like people who strike out and become the first in something. You were the first female mail carrier.
Yes.
In the valley.
Encino, yes, in the valley and Encino in particular. And nobody liked it.
Oh my God.
They made me carry a bag on my shoulder rather than getting the cart or the truck. They did not like it at all. Even the female president of the Chamber of Commerce was upset about a female mail carrier.
Oh my goodness.
Is that ridiculous?
Well, you're breaking ground. That's pretty good. Well, what made you want to do that? Were you like going to school or
yeah, I was
a
in
summer
college.
job?
Yeah, I was in college. I didn't think I was going to be a mail carrier forever. I'm an attorney. from the that's what I saw myself as a client, as a child. So when that was it. But it's changed. It's as you get older, things change, and you don't do the same things that you think you're going to do at 18.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? As tis the season for us, so I would like to say to our audience, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa, yeah.
Okay, I don't want to leave anybody out.
Yeah. I don't have all the Asian.
It's all good.
Yes.
I think they might say Merry Christmas too. They shop hard, so we go for that.
Yeah, and they make money on our shopping too.
Well, it's going to be a great year. No matter what, we're going to have a good time. And so, tell me something else. I know that you started one of the programs with our superior courts that you should be very proud of. So, tell us about that.
It's the Domestic Violence Project that the LA County Bar set it up, and we have had a whole courtroom together, and the court has been very excellent at assisting in doing that. Okay. We help hundreds. We did help hundreds of people.
And you started that?
Yes.
You set that up.
I set it up through the assistance of the LA County Bar
Right.
Association. Yeah.
But my question is, I guess, what made you? Was this a passion that you had, or
yes,
was there a particular case that made you go, look, we've got to do something?
I've got scars on my face from domestic violence and from stitches. And at one time, I was up to be a face model, but that kind of ended my face modeling. So it's okay. It's all right.
Well, you're still beautiful, but
thank you.
my thinking is, how dare he?
I know.
So that's
I probably could take care of him today.
Okay. Right. Okay. We don't play that. I'm too weak to do nothing.
Yeah.
I will take you down.
No.
Okay.
Wait till I get you alone.
Okay. It's amazing because sometimes you want to look at our sisters and say, what were you thinking? What made you attracted to him? Or there's a particular matter, and of course I won't mention any names. Very nice woman, very loyal. I believe was in the relationship for like 12 years and worked for him, and I was like, are you trying to be Ivana Trump or something, where he didn't pay her but she was working 12 hours a day?
Yeah.
And she just filed a domestic suit against him, and he was doing some crazy things. And I said, how dare he? How could you stay there with him, talking to her?
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't you just leave? You don't ever let anyone mistreat you or hurt you.
You can say that same thing to me. I mean, but I did have martial arts, so I could fight back a little bit.
Okay, all right. So what gave you the power to change? Because somewhere in there, at some point, at first as women, what we do is, my mother told me this. The first time he hits you, he will cry harder than you do because he's so sorry. But then the second time, it gets easier.
And much easier. And the guilt goes, I think. I think the guilt must go because they don't stop. They don't stop in doing that. And most of the women and the men, there are men who are domestic violence victims as well.
Yes.
And they'll stay there thinking that they can put it together, and that if only I could be better, if I would only dress better, or if I would only get up earlier in the morning, or if I could only make more money. With men, they have those things too. But men are victims of domestic violence.
That's true.
Not as frequently as women, but
right.
Unfortunately, the children suffer so tremendously in the homes where the domestic violence happens. Even if they're just in their bedroom,
right,
and the living room, they're yelling at each other, and even the yelling and getting too close to each other can be domestic violence.
I think it caused me to take my time in getting married. When I'm not married currently, I'm divorced, and we didn't have those types of issues. However, when I was a little girl, that's exactly what would happen. My father was an abuser, and he would beat my mother. And what I would do is, when it was time for him to come home, I'd look at the clock, and I would run in my room and pretend like I was sleeping.
Oh.
And I would cover up my ears, and I would hear the fighting and the screaming, and he was just so violent, and he would break dishes. And then one day he just went too far, and he took a footstool, and my mother still is, and she was a very beautiful woman, and he was very jealous, stupid, very for no reason. And but he took a footstool and he hit her over the top of her head and split her head open, and blood was running everywhere.
And you saw this?
I saw the blood in the sink as they were washing her head and screaming. The neighbor upstairs came downstairs, and that's when she finally talked to the pastor's wife at our church in New York when we were there. And the pastor's wife told her, honey, there's nowhere in the Bible that says you have to stay with a man until he kills you.
That's right.
It's time for you to leave.
He says, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church, and he doesn't hit him with a stool.
No, he doesn't hit him with it. And then when we got to California, this is in California, we met a lovely man, and his wife was a little woman. And she would chase him and hit him with a pool stick. A pool stick.
I shouldn't be laughing because it isn't right for anybody to be violent. But
it was amazing. I was like, what's wrong with her? And he stayed with her. He did. He stayed with her.
Now, men can be victims of it as well. And they
I think he was embarrassed.
They often they love their wives so much, or that they'll put up with almost anything.
Looking at everyone, I didn't marry this little crazy woman. Yes, you did.
I think they're more intimidated by letting people know about it than the women are. But the women are certainly ashamed
Right.
of it, and they suffer from the post-traumatic stress disorder that people have in war,
Right.
which is hard. It's very hard for them. That dull, just no feeling, numbness that you get when you've been through all that.
People try to tell you when they're abusing you that you're not worth anything,
Right.
and nobody's going to listen to you, and
Right.
I'm the only one that would do anything for you, and it's a mind game. It's a control
It
thing.
is.
Yeah.
It is. It's even if there's no touching, the abuse can be just on the verbal abuse that can tear somebody down over time as well.
Exactly.
And tear down their whole person. It tears it down with the words, and they don't have to touch them.
You're right. You're exactly right. And that's probably why I'm real quick to counter any negativity that comes my way, verbally or otherwise. It's like, oh, we're going to get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay. This cannot exist in my world, you know?
No, and it shouldn't,
That's right.
because it is. We don't want people to have scars on their face for the rest of their life from a stupid relationship.
Right.
And you have to get out at the first sign of it, because pretty soon as you start letting it go, it starts becoming acceptable even to you when you're doing that, and it's not acceptable at all.
That's right. And not to let it go too far for anyone, whether it be, like you said, man or woman
Right.
or child, and it's really bad for the children. And at some point, one of my favorite programs, but of course I don't model myself after this, but one of my favorite programs is Snapped. So
I haven't. I'm sorry. I'm out of it.
I like Snapped.
I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. I'm sorry. I'm very out of the culture, I think.
Well, I love my court shows.
Uh-huh.
You know, I love to see the judges. I love my court shows. I love Judge Judy, Judge Mathis, Judge Joe Brown. When he's
Yeah.
I love them. And what would happen is, of course, you watch these shows and you look at these situations and you think, oh my God, why didn't you cut this off at the beginning? You know, why did you let it go so long? No one should have to sit there and be abused. I saw a show on Snap this past weekend where it was parents, really great parents for Christmas. It was the Christmas season, and they finally told their youngest daughter and her slothful boyfriend, or fiance, that they had to get a job and pay for the trailer they were living in on the property. They figured at 29 years old it was time for them to pay rent.
Right.
So for Christmas they killed everybody in the house, and it was terrible. It was sad. And at this point you're thinking, okay, what part of pay rent makes someone wants to act like sit down, put a gun in their pants, and then shoot you? You know, you've got real problems.
You do.
You've got real.
And
problems.
they didn't start with this.
It was awful. It was terrible.
That is really awful.
And then the 911 call. This was in another state. I forgot if it was Washington or something like that. But when the police were called, and it was when the shooting was going on, when they arrived at the property, the gate was locked. The fence was locked. And there's different laws in different states. And because the fence or the gate was locked, the police, even though it was a 911 call,
Where someone's in danger?
they didn't go through the gate because the gate was locked. So there was no trespassing sign, and so they didn't go through the gate. It might have saved their lives because by that time they got there 30 minutes later, according to the television show, and they had killed everyone in the house. And when they got there, it might have been just another shootout. So it was sad. It was really sad.
It is, because how do you get to that point? I can get pretty angry.
But then you leave.
Yes.
You know,
my mouth spouts some things out that shouldn't come out, but no, I'm not going to get physical.
And you know what? Depending upon how mentally disturbed the other person is in the room, there might be some things I might think and not say and just leave.
Yeah.
That you can always leave.
Right. Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
If somebody starts putting their hands on you to prevent you from leaving, that's another issue when you start calling for backup.
You call for backup.
911.
That's where the judo comes in
Okay.
for me. But it's really sad, and it's sad. I had some opportunities for some face modeling, and that boyfriend, that's when he scarred my face. But it's all right.
Wow.
Now I'm older than dirt, so it's okay.
No, you're funny. Well, actually, you're happily married.
I am happily married.
Yes.
I have a lovely husband,
Absolutely.
and I interrogated him on his knowledge of the Bible, and he passed the Bible test.
Oh my goodness. So, are you going to say hello to your husband? You can.
Yes.
Okay. We'll shout out to.
Yes, to my wonderful young husband.
You go, girl. Okay.
I'm so grateful for the marriage, the wedding that I had on Valentine's Day with you, and that I hope there's a lot more Valentine's Days with you.
That's so romantic. You guys got married on Valentine's Day?
We did, by my best friend who's a pastor, and she and her husband married us, and so the two best friends with each of their spouses. It was very nice.
Oh my God. That's
Isn't that
nice. That's so romantic.
Yes, we did.
Okay, so we've got domestic violence and Valentine's all in one show.
and marriage.
And marriage, and absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's a good boost for please marry the right person.
Yeah,
So,
you know what? It is really important. And with my current husband, I interrogated him all into the night. And what do you do in this situation? What do you do in this situation? You really do need to know before you move it into that house alone with a person that seems like he's wonderful. But take your time. I think it's really important.
well, it is very important. I just, I think it wasn't Valentine's Day, of course, but it was our last holiday. A very nice person talked about marriage with me, and unfortunately, they invited me to marry them and be part of their life. But I'm an only child, and they mentioned that my mother could not come live with us. And
What was wrong with that?
okay, I'm trying to. It's like, how long have you known me, and you can get this out of your mouth?
You think so?
Do you? And believe me, I am not spoiled by the kindness of my mother. Knowing and loving my mother is like being in boot camp. Okay, so I got this. However,
But she would do anything for you.
she would. She'd tear down walls and doors. Okay,
And she'd knock over that 6'7" bodybuilder.
and don't mention if my son was in a situation. Oh, she would take it down. So with that being said, if I found it hard to believe that he could get this out of his mouth, and I'm like, I don't think this will work because my mother's not, I'm an only child, and it's another stage of her life, and she would need to be somewhere around me. And if not in the house, then we're talking about a guest house. If you don't want to have her in the house, then we're talking about a guest house on the property.
Not 3 doors down.
Yeah. He looked at me. Yeah, it was interesting. So I said no to this proposal. But it wasn't on Valentine's Day, so it's okay. Yeah, I can keep it moving. It's all good. And my hairdresser, as a matter of fact, told me, she said, don't worry, the right man will come along who will take you and your mother. It's 2 for the price of 1. I mean, my God, my mother comes with a check. She's a good girl. She's a good She'll keep you laughing. We can go on vacation and the house will still be safe. So it's all good.
Yeah, she's a great. She's right on it.
Yeah,
and her mind is so sharp, and she responds very. And when I've seen her on the show, she's very, very.
Oh, Mother's response was, well, I don't need to live with anybody, and I'm like, I know, Mother, I know, but I need you there. Yeah, it's all good. President Obama had Michelle's mother living in the house with them.
Right in the house, not in the guest house.
So that tells me you need a bigger house, baby. It's all good. It's all good. So I tell you what, we do, and especially in domestic violence cases, sometimes you give notice And then other times
You don't.
you don't have to?
You don't have to, especially if it places the victim in danger by letting them know. Then so that the abuser is prepared. It can put the victim into more danger by that. But it has to be those circumstances, not just because he'll yell at me when I get home.
Okay. Okay. Or she'll yell at me when I get home or something like that. Okay. All right.
Yeah, because we do have cases where the men are abused over years.
Right.
Men can be abused as well.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we want to stick up for everybody.
Yeah. But domestic violence also includes grandparents and all the relations within the family.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. And now there's a difference between a domestic violence case and a civil harassment case, right? What's the difference?
The difference is domestic violence involves family relationships where it's either related by blood marriage or that you're living in the same household, or there's some other familial relationship that is involved, whereas civil harassment would be, it could be your neighbor or whatever. You still get restraining orders, but the domestic violence, I think, is thought of more, the judges seem to take that very, very seriously.
Okay, so a domestic violence would be a romantic relationship or a relative.
A relative or someone who lives in the same house.
Okay, all right. But if it's your neighbor giving you a hard time, it's civil harassment.
Civil harassment, right.
Okay. Do you go to the same courts?
You go to the same courthouse, but the civil harassment is, and I don't know, I haven't been recently to the civil harassment court, a civil harassment hearing, but they're both handled in Central or in Van Nuys, whatever court it is. You go to your neighborhood court, the one that you are assigned to.
Now, if you have a litigation matter going on, we've got about 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 5 minutes. Anyway, if you're in litigation and if there's a way to settle a matter, you want to touch on mediation. What do you think?
Okay. Well, mediation and domestic violence don't go together.
Okay.
We do not. That's an absolute no-brainer, because the abuser does not have the abuser then has the upper hand if you're putting them into a mediation situation. Because they're the aggressor and the victim is already intimidated, and often will
roll with the punches.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
that was very.
Thank you very much. Now, if in mediation, the person being your mediator, do they have to be an attorney?
They don't. You can hire a private mediator. It does not have to be an attorney. I would suggest very strongly that it be an attorney, especially if it's a domestic violence case, and someone who actually has handled domestic violence. I think it's very important.
But for mediation as an umbrella itself?
Mediation, the main thing is you don't want to have an imbalance of power.
Right.
But
you still don't have to be an attorney as a mediator.
Oh no, you don't have to. You don't have to be an attorney as a mediator. There are many mediators who identify. They take the 30-hour course. They're mediators. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that all people are like that. But we have some really competent mediators in the downtown and the branch courts. We do have that in Los Angeles County.
I know in one particular matter that I was invited to mediate myself, and it was really great but I paid money out of my pocket to bring an attorney with me. Because the whole point of mediation is that you need two people without any Ron Saponchek, who's a certified family law specialist, says this. You don't want any of the shadow personalities in mediation. Right. If you don't have two people who are willing to be honest and put it on the table, you're really wasting your time.
That's true. It's really true.
Yeah.
And you're losing.
Yes.
You're throwing your money away. You're throwing the opportunity away to possibly make it so that through the years you don't have to hide under the Thanksgiving table to just avoid the other person.
And a big motivator to me would be we look them in the eye and you have to tell them if you don't disclose, you actually risk the action of the court taking that asset and awarding it to the other party.
It's true.
Very true.
Yeah. There was a big one that I saw.
Are you talking about Judge Dinner?
And no, I'm talking about one of my clients who just kind of failed to disclose a $30,000 asset, and it cost him that much. I didn't know anything about it until. So
when filling out those schedules of assets and dets,
disclose. It right. Because it can be a $5,000 asset and you pay $30,000 for the $5,000 for failing to disclose, and that I didn't even know the judge knew. The judge figured out the non-disclosure, and I hear it while we're on the record, and I haven't, and I. Tell your attorney.
Oh my God!
If you just disclose, it's better to get 50% of something than 0%. 0%, and maybe plus, like that one was $30,000 above.
Oh my God! Absolutely.
And if I'd known before that this existed, if he discussed it with his attorney would have said, disclose it.
Disclose. Always disclose.
Always,
it's much
because it's
disclose.
Way too expensive.
Yes. So, honesty is the best policy.
It is. Because the judges also have good memories, and you usually get the same judge over and over and over again. You get assigned to this courtroom, and you get that judge, and you get caught lying. It's not good.
Well, I have a special adoration for the judges that have actually taken the time to come on the show in the past years, and they have all my respect. I'm in awe of them. So it's a hard job.
It is. and when I've said it as a pro tem, I really have to think about it, because when you're dealing with something, if it's something small, it's not that, but if it's something that's major, when you're talking about something like custody or domestic violence or something that really means something.
Or life insurance policy.
Yes.
Disclose.
Disclose
Please
it.
Disclose.
It's much cheaper. I felt so bad because he was 80. I didn't know anything about it, and it comes out in court. And it was $80,000 that, it was very damaging.
It will come up. It will come up.
I think they have a secret microphone in our house. But no, the judges, they can see through when you're lying. They sit there and look at how many people a day, and at least 3/4 of them are telling.
Thank you for joining us on From the Halls of Justice. Disclose. Disclose.
That means tell the truth. They don't think that just because they haven't mentioned it, that you don't have to.
Join us next week. Oh, my God. Yeah, they will get you.
They will. Poor Mr. Peterman. He was in his...